Hi everyone, it's me, the Broke Stacker. Lo and behold, here I am. I am finally going to sharpen my knives. As you see here, we have a nice assortment of different blades. I even got an axe out there, a couple little gasket scraper tools. I'll put a little bit of an edge on all of them today to show you guys how to do it. I don't know how this whole this one's going to go. This is an extremely dull condition. I mean, I couldn't cut anything with this if I tried. I might be able to stab something, but this I used as a refractory cutting tool for a decade out in the field. It did a great job. I love the curvature of the blade. But anyways, that might not happen. But we're going to focus on the straight edges tonight, and we might come back and touch on this a little bit. We're going to get into the different styles of blades, basic theory of knife sharpening, blade sharpening, and different tools and what you can do to get you there. So first things first, I want to get you over here on paper. So we gotta learn here on paper. Zoom in there just a little bit for you. See how this is gonna work. All right, so here we go. This is gonna be a rudimentary blade, right? Let's just say that's your blade, right? So here's your spine back here, but here's the zoomed in edge of your blade. We're looking at it down like this, right? We're looking at that blade like this. That's what we're looking at as an example. So what happens when you do your sharpening, you can just do a single edge. If you burr it off to one side, it'll go off like that. You burr it off to the other side, it'll do that. It'll only be sharp going the one way, but not going down the middle, or pretty much dull going the other way. So you want to eliminate all that. You want to get that nice fine triangle tip edge there. But as time goes on, the more and more you sharpen your blades, the more and more material you're going to remove. So minimum removal of material is extremely key. So the more and more you cut it down, let's just say you're going to do a 2-angle grind, if you will, and that's pretty typical. What a lot of guys like to do is like a 25-35 degree grind, where the very first angle comes in over here at a, let's call that 25 degrees, all right? They hone it down to that right there. They hone it down that right there, and it gets that really sharp edge. Or no, let's call that a 35. But you also want to get see this little triangle that forms right here? You don't want to have that. You want to get that down too, so you get that 25 in there with it. For me, what I like to do, get another example here. What I like to do, I like to go even steeper than that. I like to do a nice 25 and 15 degree. So 15 degrees is going to be closer with the edge of your actual spine itself, right? Depending on the blade trigonometry. So you get that nice flat surface hone going on there, and then just barely a little bit more 25 degree, and just top that in right there to where you have an extremely sharp, very sharp edge that not only goes straight up and down, is symmetrical, it doesn't have that burr going off of one side or other. But over time, as time goes on, you come down and you keep sharpening. Now look at it. You're not going to have as steep as the triangle, if you will, the trigonometry. You're not going to have that as a steep. It's going to get shorter and shorter, and you really got to start grinding here. But then it just kind of turns into a shit show as the years go on, and then you almost got to do a hollow grind where you take all this out right here, and then you start sharpening it again. That's another way to get around that, but that takes a different type of grinding tool that I don't have here. I have a pedestal grinder, but you'll be hard pressed to do this with that. You almost need a wet sander. And another thing is, when you use those mechanical advantaged tools, such as a sander, wet sander, or a grinding pedestal grinder, if you do that, be very careful not to heat up the steel. If you heat up the steel and it's not quenched right or all that, you're going to lose the temper of your blade, and it just won't have any edge retention whatsoever. So keep that in mind as well. But don't worry, guys. We're going to show you guys some fine knife sharpening examples here in just a second. I just wanted to go over the basics with you on this. Okay. So the more and more you sharpen this, the less and less it'll get sharp until you come down the whole edge of the blade on the side. Give it that hollow grind later, then you can get it a little sharper again. But I feel like something this stubby and short, it's more or less, it's the spike. It's made to be a penetrator, right? But at the same time, it's nice to have a nice, good, sharp cutting edge on these. As you can see, once upon a time, last time I sharpened this thing, I did that 15-degree angle right along the edge, just a little too steep. Got a little greedy. I might have went 10 degrees here, and that's why you got a little bit of scratches there for me trying to do that ever so slightly, but I messed up one little stroke. Yes, you can use a bench grinder. I use mine for like maybe a lawnmower blade and all that, but anything I want to have edge retention, I try to avoid using these. Again, you're really losing your temper on the blade, and it's just not worth it to me. So I stay away from these. I'm old-fashioned. I do it by hand, and I'll show you how now. Okay, so certain tools you can use. This is a good old-fashioned diamond blade cutter. This is the diamond whetstone. This one was actually my granddad's. It was laying around. This says People's Republic of China right in the box, but the box is long gone. But yeah, this is a good old-fashioned diamond blade stone. You got the coarse side on one side, the fine side on the other side. But when you use these, make sure you get lots of water, because they like to soak up a lot of water. You want to keep that on there so you don't just destroy your stone itself. It'll keep it to where you can use it for years to come. Let's get this thing. See how all the air is coming out of it? Let me show you a good example. See how it just sucks right back in there? This is why you want to soak it preemptively when you're going to go to sharpen some stuff. So I'll kind of start with that, get that soaking a little bit, let all the air bubbles get out. Another thing you can use is a good old, they call this a puck sharpener. This is more or less what you would use like on an axe head, larger blades. These are really good and handy. You can find them at a hardware store. Again, you got your fine and your coarse sides of these. I never use this thing, hardly ever. I bet you we're supposed to put a little water on it too, though. Let's take a look, see how it does in the water. Does it have a lot of air bubbles as well? Yep, diamond cutter. See all the air bubbles coming out of that thing? Get that thing nice and wet too. I can't believe how much air is coming out of that. I've never done that on this one. Yeah, now it's starting to come out on the other side. I'll just let those two both play for a second. You got those, that's for a more rapid removal of material, but sometimes you need to do that, especially if you got a nice big nick on your blade, or you're trying to redefine an edge at the very tip. This thing, I literally drug it across concrete a few times, digging out old silicone and stuff at work. So just another example of how you can damage a blade. And this is a really rough one right here. This thing's been thrown across the parking lot a couple times, got some big chips missing in there. This is one that definitely needs some work on it. You want to do that rapid removal material with a coarse diamond cutter by hand. You can again go to that diamond, the grinding wheel, but again you risk losing that temper on your blade and just won't have any edge retention in the future. And when we finish up the fine tuning, if you will, we want to get a nice V sharpener, but a ceramic sharpener. This will keep our edges nice and consistent. And these come with 2 sets of sticks. You got the pink ones that are going to be the coarse, the white ones that are the fine. These are pretty much like glass right here. And it takes a while to use these, but you get a way better product and a way sharper edge when you use these. This particular system is from Idaho. I don't think they make these anymore. They might be back in business, I don't know, but they are my favorite knife sharpening kit out there. If you guys don't have one, check them out. Last I checked, I think they went out of business, so I don't think they make these anymore. Freaking bugs. they have their own examples of what to do. So like I said, you get that burr going off to one side, tells you to fine honing process, thinning process, 15 degrees coarse rods, fine honing process. Oh, sorry, I'm using 15 and 22, not 15 and 25. Much sharper blade that way, but it's not as durable, I will warn you there. So the more blunt that angle you get, so instead of being that 22, that fine angle, you get out to that 35, like what Spyderco uses. It'll make a more durable blade, but it won't be as sharp. So let's get down to it. What blade should we start with first and doing what? I'm pretty sure this guy doesn't need that much. It's got a little bend in the tip of the blade. I'm not bending that back, and it just is what it is at this point. I don't know what happened with that. That happened like a decade ago. Probably threw it at something and it bent it a little bit, but whatever, it happens. I think we'll start off with this one here. This is a US8A steel, and we're going to start doing the honing process with the coarse rods because this doesn't need that much. We'll just do a quick example what you can do with the fine tuning. This one is not grossly abused. This needs a little tune-up. All right, we have our V-rod sharpener set up. Some of these, my very first one came with this little hand guard that was in the middle, so when you put your hand over it, it would not, you want to potentially come down and cut your thumb off or something. So just be very careful when you're using these. Be aware of your hand placement. Get this on a nice area. It's nice and flat and level, and then you know exactly where you can put it back. And the name of the game here is consistency. So right now, on the black, I just want to make sure. No, the black, yes, the black is the 15, the white is the 22. So we're going to start off with our finer edge, the finer angle, if you will, and then we'll move over to the 22-degree angle. And we're starting with the pink sticks. These are the coarse. Yeah, you just want to get how you would hold the knife regularly, like you're slicing a loaf of bread. Stay nice and consistent. You don't want to keep doing this, moving that way, turning your blade this way. Just go straight up and down, the same angle, just like if you're slicing a loaf of bread. Sometimes it helps to draw a line directly underneath it right here to help you stay more focused, but it's not that big a deal, especially when you're doing the coarse sticks and on the 15-degree, but it does add up. What I remember in ancient cultures, what they would do is use a ceramic bowl. I'll grab this, get my fingers nice and dirty. Take a ceramic bowl, and they would just put it on the inside there and drag it across like this, right? Just follow the inside. That'll actually keep your angles nice and consistent. Depending on the ceramic part, it could remove a lot of material. It could just be fine honing it. But that's one other little ancient trick that they used to use to fine hone their blades, was the inside of a ceramic pot. But these, I think, are much better. Now, the recommended force, I think, is 3 to 5 pounds, so you don't want to push too hard. This is an oak based, but oak wood, yeah, if you put 100 pounds of pressure on this, it can't be good for it. So about 3 to 5 pounds, 10 at the very most if you're getting greedy, but I wouldn't go past that. Just a little bit of pressure is all you need. Let the sticks do the work for you. Okay, and after about 1,000 knife pulls later, or whatever, what have you, whatever your blade needs, every blade material is a little different. Some of them will remove more steel faster because they're a softer steel. Some are harder, and they take a freaking forever to get them sharpened and get that angle down there. So after you get a nice beginning of an edge there on your 15 degrees, take the same sticks, switch over to, and they're still on the coarse sticks, switch over to your 22 degrees or your larger degree, whatever, what have you. Pretty simple stuff. This is all the fine tuning of your blades. See, I'm not having to put as much pressure there. That's because of that steeper angle. And again, minimum removal material. You guys see the black on my sticks? That's just ever so slightly removing the material. We're just honing that off, and as it comes down to it and gets to that angle a little tighter and tighter, there's going to be less and less of that material coming off, but it's also going to help, almost like a honing lube on there, having that metal powder. But there is such a thing as too much of it, especially if you're starting a new knife and your sticks are completely black, and then it's almost like a medium grade instead of a coarse grade stick. So to clean these, you just use some Ajax and a Ford Comet and a sponge, a Brillo pad in the sink, dish soap, whatever. Put that in there. I've noticed Comet or Ajax work the best. You get all that off of there. Another thing I forgot to mention here, sometimes when the factory makes these, they don't get their grinding angles absolutely perfect. See if I can catch that on there. Sometimes they're just slightly off, like this side will be 20 degrees, this side will be 18 or something like that. And just that ever so slightly difference when they first ground this is going to affect on how your blade's coming out. Because you're doing everything perfect doesn't mean that they did. So you got to take that into effect. And sometimes you just got to roll your fingernail across these, going both directions of the blade, right? See, I'm hearing that? I'm getting a little bit of a burr. That we do not want that, right? So when you get a burr on the side of your burr, that's on the right here, just want to give that a little bit of extra love. See if that can get rid of that burr there. I think what that means, the burr's coming over from the right there, coming over this way, right? Get the burr on this side? Yeah. So this coming over on this side, I believe what that means is the angle is going to be a little steeper, a sharper angle coming off of this side versus what this one was up a little bit more up and down. So it was easier for that to just kind of curl over that very edge. We want to try to avoid that. We don't want that that burr. We want to stay nice and symmetrical. So instead of mentioning that in there when you're using these, roll your thumb on it, your fingernail on it just a little bit so you're getting it. It might be only in one or two spots. Like right now, getting it right here, but not at the very base. So like here on up. So I got to focus on that part of the blade. I can feel it. Can you hear that? You can hear that burr getting shaved off of there. Kind of want a little bit of that fine edge. Some people like to use that and strop it and make a stupid sharp knife, but at the same time when you do that and it's just that burr at the very tip, though that burr is like needle thin and it'll break off. It gives you like no edge retention. Kind of want, personally I avoid that. That's much better now. I don't feel anything either direction. This way a little bit, but we didn't really go on the other side, right? Oh yeah, much better. Now we're at the point we should be able to cut some paper. So let's see what this thing does really quick. Oops, that was me, not the knife. And it's starting to get there. So what you want to do, you want to go one direction with it. That's not really cutting, that's more grabbing. There it goes, that's better. This is still the core stick. You still just want to be able to where it just barely starts cutting the paper. You also want to check going the other direction as well. Come on, you. I can't do this left-handed. We went that way. I'm going to go this way with it, right? There it goes. It goes both ways. If it doesn't go both ways, that means you've got a burr and you got to work that out, and you want to do that with the coarse sticks before you move over to your fine sticks, which looks like we worked that out. All right, we're putting our coarse sticks back in here. I love this Idaho system because it has a nice little storage rack underneath here so you can keep your guys. Do not drop these. These are brittle. I broke one of these once. I'm heartbroken still. I still need one back. Again, we're going to start with the black, and these are directional. That's why they have the red on there. I always put the red in my sticks there. Always go the same direction with your honing sticks when you do have them. That's recommended. Not going to go into it now, but just go the same direction every time with the same sticks. So we're going to start with that fine one first. So what's going on here, let's find the paper. Okay, sorry about that. So what's going on here, we are getting all this the best we can, all the whole edge on that 15 degree. But what we're trying to do is just smoothen out all those little bumps, right? Just keep going, and we're going to basically polish that. We're going to polish the steel with some ceramic sticks. So this is nice and smooth, and you don't get that drag as you're slicing. It's not so much going to affect the very tip, because when we do that 25 later, it's just going to barely hit the tip right there, right? Get it right there. So this is going to be nice and sharp at the tip. We're going to do an exaggeration here so you guys can see a little bit better. Get that nice tip there, but all this will be nice and polished already for us. And after that, we'll come back here and we'll do a nice polish on this. So you got a stupid, sharp, sleeky edge right here and here as well with no burr. That's the all goal of doing one stick to the other. You want to get rid of that coarseness and get it down as fine as you can so it's like smooth as glass. Again, you always start with your finer angle first, and you always finish off with that steeper one. Some people like to do just the 15. I've tried that, and let me tell you, you don't have the edge retention. The finer the edge of the blade you get, the less edge retention you have. And then the wider you go, the more edge retention you have. It makes more utility edge, if you will. But as you come in tighter and tighter, it's easier to break off that little bit of a burr you have at the very tip. That's nice and straight up and down as it wears down faster and faster with that steeper edge. Depends on the steel though too. It always depends on the steel. So you're gonna do this. I'll not so much fast forward. I'll just pause here and go to forward because this one I feel like if you take more time now on this 15 degree angle, it's going to be less time later, and you're going to have a much sharper knife for it. So always take your time at this stage. This is the most important stage in my eyes, the 15 degrees on your fine sticks. Alright, now that we've done about 1,000,000 pulls on this thing, I'm pretty confident with it. Also keep an eye out for making a burr on one side or the other. Don't be afraid to twist your sticks as you go too. There's getting a little too much metal. Just twist them, and get onto that nice fresh white piece. I've noticed on some of these that I don't, probably just part of the making process, there is like one little rough spot. So I try to avoid that one if I can, especially on this final step. This is the final step we do on the 22 degree angle. Again, we're just going to go nice and easy on this. This is the most important step too. You're fine tuning this blade, but you're also polishing it at the same time. You don't want to overdo it. Personally, I don't go as forceful on this stage as I do on others. Get it nice and smooth. I've heard of one guy who kind of used a strop, but not in the way you would think. He used honing oil on a flat sheet of glass, and I heard his knives are the only ones I've ever heard rumored that were sharper than mine. Not to toot my own horn, but beep beep. Yeah, that's the only way I've heard of someone else doing it. I haven't seen it for myself, but I heard that is a potential another way of doing it. I have enough sharpening equipment that's very effective, so I don't feel the need to do it. But yeah, after you get about a bajillion passes of this, we'll fast forward right here. Okay, there's a few passes more. Gonna check and make sure we don't have any burrs going on. Almost one right there, just ever so slightly. I'm gonna keep working on this and do it a little bit more. Just take your time and do it right. And yeah, you're gonna have a superior product. So right here at the, there's a name for this spot of the blade. There's the tip, obviously, and the main edge, but like the sweet spot, if you will. It's usually where you're going to have the most problems, if any at all, when sharpening. Okay, I think we got that worked out. And I say that because usually when you're using the knife, it's going to be that one section right there, usually. So that's usually the spot that gets the most wear. So usually that's the trouble spot. So we're going to set that to the side. Another way to check, other than your extremely fine honing stick, especially if you're out in the field, you can just gently drag that across the back of your thumbnail or nail, because you have so many nerve endings in your fingers, you can feel every little bump if there is any at all. But in this case, that is pretty freaking smooth. We're going to give that a test now on a piece of paper. Just rip that out. I'm not dragging the whole thing around. I'm going to give him a shot here, see what he do. I think that's acceptable. We went one way, right? We go the other way now with this guy. Not really left-handed, but that made easy work of that. Again, no burrs in either direction. Nice, perfectly up and down. Nicely polished, other than where I screwed it up years ago. Looks like I might have did a little bit again right there. Oops, it happened. Oh yeah. Oh, that's stupid sharp. Here's another test you can do it if you're very careful. I had a friend that was under the influence do this, and he did it with the K-bar, and he just he did it a little too rough, and he about peeled his skin off. So you go one way, and then you go the other way. If you only can shave going one direction, that means you have a burr, and you have to do a little bit more work on that. I hope this video is very helpful for you guys in regards to just basic putting a quick edge on your knife. And when I say quick edge, this just took me about 30 minutes to do maintenance on this one. But the last time I did it, and I did it right like I did this, was at least 5-6 years ago since I sharpened this knife. That will, if you don't abuse your knives, it will last a good long time, but also be careful. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. I was going to show you guys the rapid removal of material. Probably should have started there first, but it's fine. We're just going to use the good old axe head here, not the diamond right now. I'm going to be out here doing knife sharpening for a little bit, but I'll show you. Usually the lighter color on these stones is going to be the finer. You can just feel by touch. Yeah, this dark is the gray stuff. So let me show you a good way I like doing it. So on the larger blades, I like to get them nice and fixed, right? There, it's not going anywhere. And you get your puck. This thing is dull as a butter knife. It's actually worse. Just get your angle nice and right, especially when it's wet like that. You can see that you're following the original angle, which they did. And at this point, you can just go back and forth. You don't have to worry about a direction because you're going to do a rapid removal of material. You can see when it's coming, where it's coming off. You want to follow that edge. Again, that's going to be, you kind of want to start off with your 18 degree, if you will, and then finish up with your 22. But on the axe head, I like doing, I believe that's better for a tool sharpening, 25 and 30, if you will. Kind of like what Spyderco's knife sharpening system does. Those are pretty nice systems. I didn't care for them myself. If they work for you, great. They just didn't work for me. But yeah, just want to work it nice and easy back and forth until you see some nice consistent edge. See, we still got a large amount of material missing right there. Let me zoom in for you. See that big burr missing out of there, big old chip. Probably chopped into a freaking nail or something. We were chopping up some firewood. Or we threw it across the parking lot. Somebody pissed us off. You never know. Look at this, though. This isn't very safe. This is one of those plastic handled blades, but it looks like this the handle's starting to come loose. Oh yeah, don't strike a hammer on the back of this. Oh yeah, I've never done that. Yeah. I can within reason. You need to hear that from me. Also, don't forget to wet your stone here and there too. I forgot to mention too, another option you have is a file. Let me zoom out that. So you can use zoom out. You can use a file. This one is the Bastard Mill. They make all sorts of cuts, mill cut, bastard cut, or multi-groove cuts. Those are for more of a rapid removal of material, especially with that multi-groove. I can't find mine right now, but it's fine. What you can do with these, probably should just go one direction on, especially on this type of file, but it's fine. We're just going to try to work down that one area just a little bit. Look at this, guys. Look at this. Let me adjust the camera. See this little guy right here on my honing stick? See if I can get it to focus on it. See him going? He's trying to cast a web between my V sharpener. I've been in here so long sharpening. He's already trying to cast a web right here, right on my V sharpener as I'm like using all this stuff. Rude little guy. You trying to say I'm taking too long? Let's take a look here. Woo! That's actually a little sharp now. That shocked me. Let's take a look. I mean, it's not stupid sharp. It's good enough for an axe, but I'm gonna have to leave it at that today, guys. I just gave this a little bit of a tune-up. It needs more, but that's just to give you an example of how to do a rapid removal of material by hand. And maybe we'll come back to this one next week and see if we can get it to a razor's edge. I mean, it's good enough to split some wood. We're going into winter, so might need a little bit of that for some kindling later. That's my kindling axe. On my other guys here, I am just going to do a quick hone because I am out of time. So those aren't going to need that much maintenance on them, but they do need to be sharpened. A little maintenance. I'll come back and do another video in the future and try to do this as its own little project or sharpening it. As you guys can see, this is a different kind of serration. I think I'm gonna have to bust out a jeweler's file on a lot of this. I don't think my my sticks that I have right now are going to be good for sharpening this. Man, these bugs just won't quit. But yeah, eventually I will come back and do this one. I actually really like this knife. It's a good tabletop knife for cutting and stuff, especially if you're doing like ceramic fiber. Oh man, this thing was great. But I don't know, maybe I can get it back to how it was when it was brand new and just make this same badass. Guys, I hope that you guys are happy with me. I finally sharpened my letter opener, if you will, to where it will actually open a letter now. So we're all good, guys. Till next time, keep stacking, stack them high. I'll see you on the next knife sharpening video.